Peace everyone, and thank you for watching this video. Today I'm going to be going over some of the simple facts of the miracle of the Quran surrounding the number 19. And before you run away, all I ask is you give it a chance. This is all something you can confirm for yourself in English or Arabic, and or many other languages as a matter of fact, and don't just disregard this as quackery or numerology, and just give it a chance, and you can decide from there, God willing. So, just a little background on the mathematical miracle of the Quran. In chapter 74, the hidden secret, in verse 30, God almost all of a sudden says, over it is 19. And scholars for hundreds of years have been trying to guess as to what this meant, and there's kind of a consensus that it was just the number of angels that were guardians of hell. But let's read the next few verses to see what the real meaning of this is. So it says, we appointed the angels to be guardians of hell, and we signed their number to disturb the disbelievers, to convince the Christians and Jews, this is a divine scripture, to strengthen the faith of the faithful, to remove all traces of doubt from the hearts of Christians, Jews, as well as the believers, and to expose those who harbor doubts in their hearts, and the disbelievers. They will say, what did God mean by this allegory? God thus sends astray whomever he wills, and guides whomever he wills. None knows the soldiers of your Lord except he. This is a reminder for the people. Absolutely, I swear by the moon, in the night as it passes, in the morning as it shines. This is one of the great miracles. And I should mention here that growing up, I didn't want to go with the traditional Islam. I couldn't accept a lot of things about it. So I started thinking to myself, if God's out there, where's the proof? So I started looking up exactly that proof of God, and I saw a lot of different things, some impressive, some not so impressive. But what really convinced me beyond a reasonable doubt was this miracle surrounding the number 19, which you'll see in a second when I just show you. Even just some of the simple facts are amazing. But before that, just take a note. 7 plus 4 plus 3 plus 5 is 19. And this is the verse where God is telling us this is one of the great miracles. So let's move on. If this just sounds like coincidence, give it time, because this miracle is endless. These are just a few of the simple facts which was more than enough to convince many people, but for those who can't be convinced just by these, there is an endless amount of discoveries coming out about the number 19 in the Quran, way beyond human probability, especially for a human being 14 plus hundred years ago to have this scripture. It couldn't have come from him, which you'll see very soon that this must have been a divine revelation. Okay, so let's look at some simple facts. The first verse of the Quran is what we call the Bismillah. And what that is, in the beginning of every chapter except one, and I'll get to as to why later, God willing, but in the beginning of every chapter, God starts out saying, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Okay, and the shorthand for that is we call it the Bismillah. Okay, so the first verse, which is the Bismillah, of course, consists of 19 letters. The Quran consists of 114 surahs, which basically is just like a chapter. So 114 chapters, that's 19 times 6. The total number of verses in the Quran is 6,346, or 19 times 334. And also note that if you take 6 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6, you'll get a total of 19. The Bismillah, remember we just talked about this, which prefixes every chapter in the Quran except one, occurs 114 times because there are 114 surahs, but like I mentioned, it's missing one, so we actually get 113 times, but God makes up for this by adding it twice in chapter 27. So we still get 114 Bismillahs, 19 times 6. From the missing Bismillah of Surah 9, that's where it's not mentioned, to the extra Bismillah of Surah 27, chapter 27, where it's mentioned twice, there are 19 chapters in between. It follows that the total of the surah numbers from 9 to 27, if you just add it up, 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12, all the way up to 27, you get 342, or 19 times 18. This total, 342, is also equal to the number of the words between the two Bismillahs in Surah 27. Remember how we mentioned that it occurs twice in chapter 27 because it's missing in chapter 9? Well, if you count the words between those occurrences, you'll get 342. Again, 19 times 18, and we just saw 342 up here, amazingly, concerning the same issue. Famous first revelation. In chronological order, chapter 96 is the first one that came down to the Prophet Muhammad. So that's what we call the first revelation, and it consists of 19 words. This 19-worded first revelation consists of 76 letters. So 19 words, 76 letters, 19 times 4. This, and still talking about chapter 96, it also consists of 19 verses. So you have first revelation from God in the Quran, has 19 words, 19 verses, 76 letters, 19 times 4. First chronological surah is placed atop the last 19 surahs. So if you basically count from 96 to 114, you'll get 19 total surahs. Surah 96 consists of 304 Arabic letters. 304 is equal to 19 times 16. So we're still talking about the first revelation here, chapter 96. And even the total number of letters in the whole chapter is divisible by 19. Here, the 76 letters, that's the first revelation. The first revelation consists of only the first 5 verses of that chapter. But even if you take the whole chapter, you still have a number of letters that's divisible by 19. Amazingly. Thank God. The last revelation, which is chapter 110, in chronological order, not in number order, because 114 would be the last surah, but this is the last revealed chapter, consists of 19 words. The first verse of the last revelation consists of 19 letters. 14 different Arabic letters form 14 different sets of initials. For example, the Quran has initials that prefix several chapters, and this has really been a mystery and puzzled scholars for over 1,000 years. God might say, in the name of God, gracious, most merciful, and then before starting the chapter, one verse will just say ALM, or TH, or K something something. So they're just Arabic initials, and they prefix 29 total chapters. If you take 14 different Arabic letters plus 14 different sets of initials that they form, some are repeats, so that's why there's only 14 different sets, you'll get 57, 19 times 3. Okay, the total of the 29 surah numbers or chapter numbers where these initials occur is, if you take each chapter where they occur and you add that chapter number to the last and you just keep adding them up, you'll get 822. 822 plus the 14 sets of these initials equals 836, or 19 times 44. Between the first initialed surah, which is chapter 2, and the last, which is chapter 68, there are 38 uninitialed surahs, which is divisible by 19. Between the first and last initialed surah or chapter, there are 19 sets of alternating initialed and uninitialed surahs. So in chapter 2, you'll get an initialed surah. Chapter 3, you might get one, but then they alternate 19 different times where a surah has one and the next one does not. And you'll get that 19 different times. The Quran mentions 30 total different numbers in the Quran. If you take each unique number mentioned in the whole Quran, these are all numbers mentioned in the Quran, and you add them together, you'll get 162,146, which is divisible by 19. Keep in mind, if this really isn't enough to convince us, though it's already a very powerful proof, keep in mind this is barely touching the surface of the mathematical code. If you want to see more, this actually comes from, it's not to my credit, a site called submission.org published this article, and you can read a lot more about it there. But just to add a couple more interesting facts that I know off the top of my head, God willing. Okay, we're talking about the Bismillah. In the Quran, you'll see the Bismillah mentioned in the beginning of every chapter. Okay? It'll look just like this. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. In Arabic, this is Bism, which means name, God, which translates into Arabic as Allah, most gracious, which translates as Ar-Rahman, and most merciful, which translates as Ar-Rahim. To help illustrate this, let me take out notepads. So we have Bism, name, God, Allah, most gracious, Ar-Rahman, and most merciful, Ar-Rahim. So we have four different key terms here. If you take each of these and you count them in the Quran, you'll get multiples of 19. So if I remember correctly, don't quote me on this, but Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim were both mentioned something like 57 times in the whole Quran, coincidentally, right? 57 equals 19 times 3. Also, 57 plus 57 equals the total number of chapters in the Quran, amazingly. God is mentioned thousands of times, almost 3,000 times, I believe, if not more, in the Quran, and it's also divisible by 19. And name, lastly, is mentioned a number of times, divisible by 19. Just this alone should make us question that whether this is really all coincidence or not, coming down 1400 years ago, not only just being 1400 years ago, in a time of mass ignorance. You have to realize this is a time where most Arabs in this area, had just set up all these idols at the altar. Knowledge wasn't something that was favored upon. People didn't focus on education and so forth. And here comes this revelation, and that we learn like something like 1400 years later has this amazing mathematical composition to it. So anyway, if you have any questions, please comment. I'll try to get back to them as soon as possible, and look forward to more videos concerning this topic and others, God willing. And peace be upon you all. I hope to see you guys again. Bye bye.